what we got, basically, we haven't got this machine set to do anything right now. I just wanted to leave it that way, so when we came out here, we're gonna get this machine ready to wrap this hay. So basically, we've pulled it to the field with your hitch here. First thing is, of course, to take your hitch out and put it in the storage. Went out and started one yesterday, and he said, "What do I do? Just throw this over in the field?" I said, "No, there's a place for it, you know." So we store it right over here. That way it's there ready for us when we get ready to haul it to the next location. All right. The other thing is there is a pin. I've already got that pulled. There's a pin you can put in this axle that keeps them tires straight when you're pulling it down the road. Right here's the pin. There's the hole in that axle. Some of the older ones don't have that. That's a feature we just put on them not too long ago. That way to keep it straight for you. All right. Next thing we want to look at is the size of our bales. So what's the width of the bales we're doing?
4 foot.
The
height? Yeah, we're going to be about 55, about 65 inches, 66 inches, somewhere in there.
66 inches. So we got a setting for 48, 54, 60, 66, and 72. So we need to set these bale guides for the diameter of your hay. So it's set at 60, so that's what we're going to leave it at. Now there's one of these here, and there's one at that end, so this thing don't move. So you have to pick at each end and get it set. All right? Both of them are at 60. The next thing, if you're doing 4 foot or 5 foot bales, we're doing 4 foot bales today. So here's a chart right here. This is the next thing we want to set. All right, this is for round, this is for square. This machine don't do square, so don't look at that. So we're going to do 4 foot bales. We want to put it in the A setting and the D setting. All right, there's the D setting right there. So we want to move this. It's set right now to do 5 foot bales. So we're going to move it down to about right there for 4 foot bales. All right, so D. What this does right here is when it's pushing your bale, it's going to hit this and it turns your hoop on. So that's why we want to move it down. If it's up here, it's going to turn that hoop on faster for 5 foot bales because your bales are going to start moving. So we set it down here for 4 foot bales to turn that hoop on. If you set it up here, you're going to waste a lot of plastic because it's going to be wrapping and there's not going to be any bales pushing through. All right. And then we set this block down here at the A position. So that's up about 4 notches there. See, B is for 5 foot, which is all the way down, which that's the way it's sitting now. So we're going to bring it up a little bit. What that block does is when it's pushing your hay, it's going to hit this block and basically close that valve to get that pusher back up there. So we just need a 4 foot section to set this hay in right here. All right, if he's doing 5 foot, it'd be way down here. So that's the first thing we do is set up for our hay on this machine. Any questions so far?
Yeah, and you'll see it when this hits down there, guys, when that hits, that basically shoves that lever, closes the valve, hoop stops turning, and then it reverses itself. So it just diverts the oil differently.
Okay.
Yeah. This starts it, that stops it.
Yep. All right, the next thing is on some maintenance features. A lot of times we recommend, this one doesn't have any oil on it right now, but there's some places Where you see that oil can, it needs to be oiled quite a bit. What you'll get right here, if this isn't free, your valves won't turn on all the way down here, and a guy will call in and say it's pushing, but my hoop is going really slow. Well, it's not opening this valve all the way. That's the first thing you want to look at if it's greased real good, because it may just be catching and not opening that valve up. Okay, so that's an easy thing to look at right there. And then there's a place down here you can put a little grease on it just to make it all go easily. All right, and then we get over to the control panel. We got all that set to put our hay on. Now we kind of want to get this set from towing to wrapping. All right, so we get the machine here. This is your emergency shutoff right here, or your hydraulic shutoff. When that's pushed in, the machine will run, the engine will run, but you will not be able to do anything hydraulically. It shuts it down. That way, if it's pushing hay through and it's not, the plastic's broke and you're standing there, how do I stop it? Just push that in and it'll stop it. So that has to be pulled out to wrap hay. The other thing, this has to be pulled out to start it, okay? On this unit here, we do have the remote steering. That's what this blue key is. All right, so we got it out right now, and we can manually start it right here without the remote, okay? When I turn that key on, you have to start it from the remote. If this key is on, it'll just grind right here. It will not start. A lot of guys will call and say this thing won't start. Well, is your blue light on? Yeah. Well, you have to start it from the remote. 80% of the calls I get is right there, trying to start this machine. All right. So we got it here. We're setting it up. This lever here is for when you're running it down the road, when you're driving it around where you're wrapping hay. You want it in this position here to drive it around. We're fixing to get started wrapping, so we just turn it over into the wrapping mode. What that does, it reverses your flow down here to your drive motors, and we use those as our braking system. Okay, so we got it into the wrapping mode. This right here, which we're not going to tighten it down right now because you want to get a few bales loaded on it and get those bales out and to where that machine starts moving. Once we get the machine moving, then we'll tighten this brake down to get them bales tight. But if you have that brake set in the beginning, it's hard to get this machine moving, and it'll just keep pushing the bales all the way out. It won't push the machine, it'll just push the bales. So you want your brake off to start the row. Okay? This right here sets the speed of the hoop. The pusher, a lot of people say, well, I want it to push faster. You can't set the speed on that pusher. It's preset with the cylinders and the pressure. The cycle time is anywhere from 23 to 30 seconds that it'll push a bale through and get back to where you can load it. Before this IFX unit, it was around 40 seconds. So we brought that time down because people were kind of waiting to load this machine, so we wanted it to do faster. All right, so pushing it, we're going to determine how much plastic we put on it with this lever right here of the speed of the hoop. This gauge right here, that's when we set this brake. When we set this brake, start turning it down, it'll come up. You want it around 800 to 1,000. But I don't look at that as much. I mean, you can, but that's going to vary between conditions you're wrapping in. Basically, you want to turn this up and look at these drive tires, and you don't want them to skid on the ground. You just want them to barely turn. So when you're adjusting that brake, When you start seeing them skid, you want to back off a little bit and just barely turn them. Okay? This machine does have the autopilot system on it. And that's what we see at each corner right here. They got a cap on them right now. We'll peel that off and kind of show how that works. We won't be able to use it because we don't have a row of plastic here.
So you don't uncap them till you get the other row for it to go by?
You can uncap it. That's just a shipping cap on there. You can take that off. And, I mean, some guys want to put a little protection on it and leave that on there, but whatever they want to do. But I just peel them off usually. I'm going to get the remote here and kind of show you how that works and how it starts now. Right here, which we're going to load this machine with some plastic here in a second. This little lever right here, that's going to turn your hoop on manually. That way when you're getting the bale started, when you're starting to wrap, you can sit here and you don't have to push to wrap. You can just turn it on and get your wrap on there. We do have a brake feature. When you're loading the plastic, you get a roll on there, it wants to pull down. When you get the other row over here to put on because you got weight on that other side, you can just engage that brake right there and that'll keep your hoop from turning. Some companies don't have that brake and you got to fight to put that plastic on there. So I'll get the remote out and kind of show you. There is a fuel turn off switch down here. We do recommend turning that off when you're towing it. That way you get where you're wrapping and it's not flooded out. Just a switch right there to turn your fuel off on your engine. There's a selector valve here for your fuel tanks. We have the large fuel tank here, and then there's a small tank here on the engine. A lot of people just use that as a reserve because it's easier to fill up this tank here. Okay? When you're moving the wrapper around, you got your engine started. Of course, it's just at idle. There's this little thing right here. This is the idle. Take this pin out if you want to move it around. If you need a little more RPM, that's going to idle your engine up. But when you are wrapping, you do want that in at all times. That way when it pushes through and comes back and you're getting another bale, it comes back down to idle. If you don't have this pin in here when you're wrapping, it's going to bend this. If this is bent, they've not had the pin in. And that happens a lot of times. But that's why that gets bent. The only way it can. All right, that's your kill switch there. Pull that out. You can start it right there with that. Move around or whatever. All right. Now, I done that. I'm good. All right, now I'm going to turn that on. It won't start with that light on. Only way it'll start was with this remote. All right. We get it started. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the remote here. Of course, this is to start it and to stop it. And then you have a manual and auto. It's in manual now. Of course, you're going to steer it. idle it up there for me. Sometimes you have to have a little bit more idle to turn it like that, but when you're wrapping and it's pushing, you're going to have more idle to turn it, okay? So it's in the manual mode. Now I'm going to hit this auto mode. All right, you see these lights right here?
Yeah.
This green light means it's reading off of that eye right over there, okay? I'm going to hit this switch right here, which tells it which eye to read off of. Now it's reading off this one. We got that cover on there, so it thinks it's really close to a bale, so it's steering that way.
Yeah.
All right. Pretty easy process, right? Everybody figured that out? These are preset with the distance. So I can move it all the way out here, and you're going to get about 5 feet between your bales. I can move it in, and it'll make it get closer. So the only way to adjust the distance between your wrap bales is to move this. There's pins back here, and you move your eye closer or further away. This handle here, if you set a bale on there when you're wrapping, and for some reason it doesn't engage this is what engages it to start pushing. If for some reason it doesn't engage this is a manual. You can just hit it right there and it'll push. Typically you don't have to do that, but sometimes you may have to. All right. When we get to the end, which we'll show it here in a minute, this extractor is what we talk about. Idle it up there. Idle it up. And it's going to push it all, that bale all the way to the end, push this machine out. That's the best sales feature we have on this unit, that hydraulic extractor and the autopilot system. Now, do you want to start bales on this, or do you want to go over to the other unit?
Well, why don't we do the other unit, and then we'll start bales.
Okay.
We'll split them up, and then we can...
One thing I didn't talk about, I forgot, this is your film watch. Of course, this is out. This is what your hydraulic shutdown is, all right? When you're wrapping hay, you want this in this position, and what that does, it puts that film watch, it's a little lever there that goes over. And what that does, see the film, there's no film on it now. So it's going to hit that and shut that machine down. See what I'm saying? But if the film's there, it's going to come in behind this film watch system and it'll bypass that every time. So that's what shuts your machine down. It just shuts your hydraulics off if your film breaks. And there's one of those on each one. If it comes with the 4 stretchers, there's one on each stretcher. So if one does it, it's going to shut the machine down. So that's what we say is our film watch system.